is because we are simply saying that the invocation of 7 is giving me a value of exactly 7 as a value. And that's why we are using this particular mechanism to represent returning a value from a subroutine. Is that okay? Sort of? Okay, we'll go through a few more examples later on, but for now we'll just kind of quickly go through this one. Okay, now I'm done because line 2 is the last line here. We have to go to line 3 to end the subroutine. And just like before, we have to deallocate column D in this case. And then we have to go back to where? Column D tells me to go back to line 8. So we'll continue execution on line 8. But now line 8 looks like this instead of line 8 in the pseudocode, because what we have just done is to resolve invoke 7. Now we know invoke 7 is just giving me a value of 7. We doing okay so far? If line 8 looks like this, if line 8 looks like what we have in D7, what else do we have to do? Can we print yet? We have to invoke woo. Okay, so we have to go invoke again. So we are triggering the invocation of woo on line 8. But that means we have to do exactly the same thing. We can reallocate the same column D because it was deallocated on row 8 of the trace. So this time we do the same thing. We say that when we return, we'll still be going back to line 7. We'll still be going back to line 8. The first part will be resolved, is already resolved. The second part will be resolved by the time I return. Okay, because this time I'm invoking woo, and that's why invoke woo is replaced by a single question mark. The question mark being a placeholder of the return value of invoke woo. Is that okay? Kind of? Okay. Then we go into the subroutine. The only action line of the subroutine woo is 5, line 5. Line 5 says return 5. Okay? With any return statement, all we do is we copy and paste the return info, and then we change the question mark to whatever value we are returning. Line 5 returns 5, so we are changing the question mark to 5. And we are done with the return statement. We proceed to end define sub on line 6, and then we mark that this column is now deallocated. According to return info, we are supposed to go back to line 8. So now we go back to line 8. But this time when we go back to line 8 looks like this. It looks like print 7 times 5 instead of the invocation in the original code. Is there anything else I have to do on line 8? Well, we have to perform the multiplication. 7 times 5 is 35. It does not involve any invocation anymore. And then we can just go ahead and print it. And that's why on row 13 of the trace, we can finally say in the comments column, we can finally say that we are printing the value of 35. And after that, we are done with the subroutine main. We go to line 9, which is the end of the subroutine main. We deallocate the column that we allocated earlier for main, and we go back to post, and that's the end of this subroutine. The end of this pseudocode. Are we doing okay so far with the concept of returning a value? Okay. Essentially, what it is doing is it is allowing a subroutine to specify, hey, I got a result. Okay. And that result can go to any place. In this case, that result can go to any place where an integer can go. That means, okay, now don't write this down because I'm just using this as an example. If I have an array with, let's say, 200 items, okay, let's say array A has 200 items, I could do something like this. I can say A bracket invoke 7 close bracket gets a value of 5. That's perfectly fine. Why? Because invoke 7 is guaranteed to return an integer. In this case, since it returns the value 7, which is well within the range from 0 to 199, it can go inside the square brackets. Okay? So the key of the most important point of return values is it turns a subroutine into a provider and origin of a value. In this case, it is returning an integer. Any place you can put an integer, you can also replace it with an invocation that returns an integer. Are we doing okay so far with the concept of returning a value? Yes. Okay. Let's go ahead and take a break here because I know this stuff is kind of heavy duty. So we'll come back at about 9:31. And then we'll continue on this topic with more examples.